Hello and welcome to the Oxygen Addict Triathlon podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors, tgstore.co.uk.
The home of Gore Bikewear, Gore Running Wear and Aquasphere wetsuits. You can get 10% off with the code OxygenAddict10 and you can win a Gore bike or a Gore Run jacket at tgstore.co.uk/Oxygen Addict.
We're also brought to you by team.oxygenaddict.com,
which offers event-specific training plans, coaching guidance from Coach Rob Wilby.
Hello.
And supportive teammates in a private Facebook group.
And this is a slightly different show to you today, brought to you from the Oxygen Addict team camper van parked in the side street in Knutsford due to incredible conflict of our schedules. We are recording roasting, actually. The van's about 85 degrees at the moment and heating up by the minute.
It's quite hot.
It's quite warm in here, isn't it?
But we just thought, we were having a coffee and we thought, well, let's just do it differently this week.
Let's do the show here. So we've got the little recorder. We thought we'd sit in here. We've got the laptop set up, so some of you might see photos of this that we've taken outside. We thought we'd give it a go. So yeah, good stuff. So Helen, how are you today?
Rob, I'm very, very well. This is unique, isn't it? Being face to face.
It's very weird actually, not seeing just a computer screen. And you've just raced this weekend, so I'm surprised you're not limping more than you are actually.
No, I know. I'm a bit
sprightly.
Well, I'm a bit too fresh, I think, which maybe always says, did you really try hard enough? I don't know. But no, I feel good. And Rob, I tell you one thing. You know I do a lot of early shifts, right?
Yes.
And my alarm goes off at 10 to 4.
Yeah.
And I feel drunk in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Yesterday, my alarm went off at 3:30, right?
Okay.
To get ready for the Outlaw Half. Did I feel drunk at mid-afternoon?
I'd say probably not.
Probably not.
No.
Isn't it strange how endorphins and probably lots of sugar keep you going? I honestly didn't feel... I probably felt like, oh God, tired now at 9 p.m.
Right, okay.
So maybe I should just do a half Ironman every day.
Maybe you should give up work and just race. Maybe you need to turn pro. Maybe that's it.
No, that's not it. I would probably... No, that's not going to happen. And plus then you'd probably get the drunk feeling on a lot of days. Yeah, wouldn't you?
There'd be a lot of endorphin highs for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, that was my weird thing.
So you've done Outlaw Half.
Yeah.
And we'll come back to that later on because we're going to do that in the results section and give you a big old bunch of chat from there.
Yeah, definitely.
So shall we start? It's very strange sitting opposite you.
I know!
It's really weird. It's like having human contact. Shall we start with results from this week, starting with Lanzarote, yeah?
Yep.
So our results section is brought to us by tgstore.co.uk, who, as we know, sell us fantastic Gore bikewear, Gore running wear and Aquasphere wetsuits. Now their focus for this week was they wanted us to talk about the fact that on their website they have got a temperature guide for each of the products that they sell, which I think could be really useful for triathletes because you're never sure when you look at what the temperature's going to do for tomorrow, what do I need to wear. So very cunningly, if you go to tgstore.co.uk/temp-clothing-guide, they've got a whole section of, if you wear this item of clothing in this temperature, you'll feel comfortable. So they've got a plus or minus, I think it's about 7 degree range, and they rate each of their items of clothing on a number scale. So on all the things on the website, they say, right, if the temperature's this, wear that, and if it's this, wear that, which would save me so much time when I'm getting dressed in the morning.
That's so handy. This morning I did actually get a phone call from my mum, right? Who was like, Helen, I haven't got any internet. Can you tell me what the weather is like where we are? What's the weather going to be like for today?
Really?
Because I think they wanted to go out on their bikes.
The windows aren't working in my house.
But I think it was basically, is it going to be really, really windy? So in that instance, that would have been handy, wouldn't it? It's like let's check that.
Yeah.
So no, that is useful because some days you think, it's it's going to be boiling out there, or it's quite cool. Whatever.
You need to know what to wear. So anyway, get over there, check out the bike clothing and run clothing at tgstore.uk. They kept me cosy and warm this weekend on my 6-hour run.
6 hours, Rob?
6 hours on Saturday.
This is impressive.
Yes, it's on. I've committed. So 6-hour run on Saturday with Wayne, the organiser of the race, and about 15 others on a race recce. So we did the first half of the run out and back from Malham to God knows where, to be honest.
It's beautiful out there though.
Stunning. But we had 4 seasons in one day. We had hot sunny weather, we had freezing cold rain, We had gloves and hats on at one point.
Really?
Absolutely, yeah. It was proper. I had a thermal top, long sleeve rain jacket, the whole deal, hat and gloves on. So it was pretty chilly on the tops.
And this was Saturday, wasn't it?
This was Saturday,
which was quite kind of, it was a bit minging on Saturday, wasn't it?
Changeable.
Yeah, changeable.
Changeable was the word. So I was very grateful for my Gore rain jacket that day. So if anyone's after a rain jacket, highly recommended. Warm and toasty, but not too hot to run in. So, right, let me fire up the old computer here.
So we're going to start off in Lanzarote, aren't we?
We're going to start in Lanza.
Because, Rob, it was, exactly. We were following this one with interest because there were a whole host of Brits, especially on the women's side, racing. And I think you said Lucy's going to win.
Lucy, and didn't specify which one. We had a feeling that Lucy Charles was going to produce something special after a half Ironman, didn't we? And boy, oh boy, did she ever. So I think I read on the Ironman thing earlier and I've forgotten what it was. I think she was 35 minutes faster than she was last year, something like that. So she takes out the win in 9 hours 35, which isn't very far off the course record, if I remember correctly. I think the course record for the ladies is 9:28 or 9:29.
Wow.
35-minute improvement from last year. 47 minutes flat for the swim, and then 5:23 on the bike, and closed it down with 3:18.1. So she was 10 clear minutes ahead of Corinne Abraham in seconds at the finish line. So who knows, maybe she'd have had even more in her on the run anyway. But it was a baking hot day. I've had some athletes racing out there who all said they got the wind, full on baking hot conditions. So we know she can race in the heat now. And the thing that's interesting is comparing her bike time, which, if we're honest, we thought was a little bit of an area for improvement for her last year. I think she was only something like 5 or 6 minutes down on the real top male age groupers, who we'll come to a little bit later on. But an amazing performance. She's outbiked Lucy Gossage by 5 minutes. She outbiked Corinne Abraham by, do the maths there, 15 minutes faster, is it, than Corinne Abraham?
Yep.
So absolutely amazing performance from her. So if you think back when we met her at Ironman UK a couple of years ago, we were saying she looks like she hasn't done anything. She's so fresh. And it has been proved that way, hasn't it? I think we could be looking at future, if she stays injury free, not to put pressure on the young lady, but she's got the talent to go all the way, for sure.
Honestly, Rob, that is just, like, the numbers there are incredible. She was 21st overall, and just, I mean, even coming out the swim, she was 10 minutes clear, wasn't she? Or more or less sort of a 10-minute gap on, well, Kate Comber actually did a really good swim, so 5 minutes clear of Kate Comber, but I mean, like, even that, it's confidence, isn't it? Yeah. You come out of that swim, you're like, brilliant. I think she was like 5th or 6th overall out the water.
Yeah, so amazing performance. And when you think an athlete like Lucy Gossage, who's won UK,
and Lanzarote, it's put 13 minutes into her in the swim on its own. And then we know Lucy's one of the best cyclists, certainly in Great Britain, and probably one of the best female cyclists in the world. To put even more time into her, Lucy's found the course that suits her with it being super hilly, so super impressive. Well done. So a UK podium sweep overall there. It was.
Yeah,
so Lucy Charles took the win in 9:35. Corinne Abraham, brilliant to see her get a decent result back from injury again. 9:44, and then Lucy Gossage rounded off the podium in 9:50. And a shout out to Kate Comber, who was the 6th female to finish. Really great to have sort of 4 GB women in the top 6. And then, Rob, what happened in the men's race?
So we saw a win here for Bart Aeronauts, 50-minute swim, so even he's had like 3 minutes put into him by Lucy. 4:48 on the bike, pretty amazing. And then closes it out with a 2:48 marathon to take the run in 8:34. So again, a really fantastic performance for him. We've seen him coming up through the ranks over the last couple of years, and that's a brilliant performance from him. And I think now his swim's getting better. He was always known as a phenomenal duathlete, but to only be 3 minutes down on Lucy Charles it shows how much his swimming's come on. That's brilliant. Go on, you pronounce Alessandro's second name.
De Gasperi.
Very nice. I like that. He takes second place in 8:43, with last year's winner Jesse Thomas in third place in 8:49. So good race for him, but not quite as hot as last year.
No. And Romain Guillaume at one point, wasn't he in the lead for quite a bit of it, and then Bart Renault sort of caught up with him, and he finished in 5th, didn't he, with 8:57.
Yeah, he's a top little athlete. I'd love to see him win something one day. Now, shout out for age groupers here. Brian Fogarty, who we've had on the show, we had him on in about, I think it was August of last year after his performance at Ironman UK. He stepped up a whole nother level of training here. 4:58 on the bike to finish in 9:22 overall, 11th place overall, first age group overall. Amazing performance for him in 9:22. So just brilliant, well done, mate. And then just off the bottom of the page here, it was Reece Barkley with the second age group overall, just another couple of minutes back.
Awesome.
So he's had another great performance as well. I think he was, from memory, 14th overall, but second in age group. Breaks your heart, doesn't it?
The other person who was second in age group was Ruth Purbrook, who was one of our ones to watch.
Really?
Yeah. And I know Ruth did manage to get a Kona slot. She was really disappointed with her race, though, in Lanzarote. I think she had nutrition issues, so she said it wasn't the race that she wanted, but kind of getting that Kona slot has made it a little bit better. So, great debut.
Good Kona preparation day, because it was super, super hot out there that day.
Yeah.
Okay, right, so next up on our list from the UK scene is we're going to jump to Slateman in Snowdonia. We'll go with the full race first, where we had the men's side a win for Lewis Eccleston, with Peter Brook in second and Paul Hawkins in third.
Can I give a shout out here to
yes,
right? So
can.
I met Lewis's mum in Nottingham, yesterday, and Jane said, she's like, "Oh, you're right, Helen." She's the one who spotted me in the Keys the other day.
Nice.
And she said, "Oh, my lad's racing at Slateman today. I think he's gonna do it." So really well done.
Yeah, that's a great performance for him. In the ladies' side, we had Becky Schofield in first, Olivia Matthews in second, and Alice Jenkins in third. So anyone's not been up and raced Snowdonia Slateman, get up there. It's a brilliant, brilliant race. Really, really cool. They've also got a sprint try-on, which was on the Saturday. Now, in the men's race, we had Thomas Nesham in first, Paul Hawkins in second, and Richard Strawn in third. So it looks like Paul Hawkins has taken out the overall title of Slateman Savage. He's got to, hasn't he, really, with a second and a third. And in the ladies' race, Rebecca Lodge takes first, Alice Jenkins in second, and Helen Talbot in third. So again, cool racing there up in Snowdonia. A little bit chilly in the water.
Well, I heard that it was slightly toastier than previous years.
Just above freezing. Yeah, just above freezing. That's good the way it is. So top racing up there.
Quick shout out at Ironman 70.3 Barcelona, Rob, because we had Emma Pallant getting the win.
Awesome.
Amazing. She's on fire at the moment, isn't she?
Yeah, really good.
I think another super quick run to get the win there. Yeah. But then a brilliant breakthrough race as well for Natalie Seymour, who got second.
Oh, brilliant stuff. That's really good. And the next big race of the weekend we're going to go over to is our Rockstar Helen's race, the Outlaw Half. So, first up we'll go with the men's results from the Outlaw Half. There was a lot of big guns racing. Now, we knew Carl Alexander had to drop out, didn't he, just before with injury.
Yeah, now I saw Carl afterwards, right, and I looked at his arm and I was like, whoa. I did say, "Carl, how are you?" And then he just showed me his arm.
Oh, dear.
Oh, it looked painful. So I think he said he's got another, sorry Carl if I get this wrong, but I think another sort of 6 weeks of...
Really?
Yeah.
Was it actually done to it?
Well, it was essentially his whole elbow was bulging out, and there was a break. But he's gonna start training again next week.
Okay. Well, best of luck to you, mate. Get well soon. In the men's race, in what I think is probably the domestic performance of the year so far from Mark Threlfall, 3:56 on what is not known to be a fast course. 3:56 is absolutely amazing from him to take the win.
And that was a course record by about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And a nice £1,500 paycheck. But we'll hear from Mark shortly about his race.
We've got some sound from him later on. Richard Ebbage takes second in 4:05, and Craig Twigg takes third in 4:06. My old mate Andy Sloan's down there in 6. Well done, Andy. Good for you, mate. And Matt Botterill, good to see him in there in 11th place overall.
I think it was a 10th, Rob, because one of them's a relay.
Oh, one of those is a relay. Okay, there we go. So what really impressed me about this is obviously Botty's known as the man on the bike. 2:10:28 bike split for him, which is just phenomenal. He's now also coaching Mark Threlfall on the bike, and Mark's turned out a 2:12:56 on the bike. So it just goes to show that they're doing something right in training, doesn't it? And Mark is now a deadly weapon. So with a 22-minute swim, a 2:12 bike, and a 1:17 run, bringing him home in 3:56. That's absolutely mind-blowing performance in my book, mate. Well done, Mark. We'll have to get him on the show properly for a full interview. Yeah,
well, we will hear from him shortly. In a moment, we'll just talk you through the women's race results, and then we will hear a couple of interviews that I gathered, one before the day of the race, and then with the two after with the winners. So in the women's race, Rob, it was awesome. Gill Fullen took the win.
Brilliant.
In 4:42. Amazing, honestly. Jill's just brilliant. So again, we'll hear from her in a tick. Anna Weaver was second in 4:48, and then Laura Fiddler, who had been leading, I think even definitely on the first lap of the run, she was still in the lead, finished in 4:49. So yeah, really, really good racing there.
Close racing. We've got to give a mention to Helen Murray in 9th place. Well done, Helen. Did you enjoy your race?
Yeah, I loved it. It was great. I really enjoyed it, Rob.
Lots of shout outs for you on the course on the way around, I believe.
There were quite a few.
Taste of celebrity, didn't you?
So I had the Oxygen Addict kit on.
Yeah.
And so I had Lindsay in the stands yelling, going, "Hey, Helen," and waving at me, taking photos.
Your own personal photographer.
So thank you very much, Lindsay. And then on the bike course, I passed a couple of people and a couple of guys, and they were like, "Hey, Helen."
Is it weird not knowing who people are and that they know who you are? And
yeah. So I just
small taste of celebrity.
Waved, and someone was like, "The kit kind of gives it away." I was like, "Well, yeah." And then in the food tent, I saw Paul and his mates from Preston Tri, who had shouted for me in my orange shorts at Ironman UK.
Nice.
Yeah, so we said hi to them. And then I think Neil, from Hereford Tri, he was saying hi.
You've got your own little set of supporters, haven't you? The Helenettes.
And then who else did? So some of your Team Oxygen Addict members.
Yeah.
So Tom said hello to me.
A few of those racing in the kit. I've seen some photos on the Facebook group this morning.
Correct.
That's
and
awesome.
Then there was one other guy whose name I can't remember, but I think he's in the team as well. Right. And he's Welsh.
Is it Matt?
It could have been Matt.
It might have been Matt.
I'm not really sure. Okay. Sorry, Matt. But he said hi too. So it was really nice. So thank you very much for
everyone's support. So it sounds like you had that at the event. It's a big event, the Outlaw Half, but it's got that community feel and the British triathlon kind of arena, right? They're managing to hold on to that small club type feel despite being a massive event, which is brilliant.
Definitely. Yeah, it was. I really, really enjoyed it, and I mean, we'll again hear from Iain Hamilton in a moment, who's the race director.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this year it sold out in 4 minutes, but previously it sold out in literally, less than a minute or two. So it shows it is one of the biggest non-Ironman.
Yeah.
It's probably the biggest, isn't it, outside of Ironman?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. And it's great, really well organised, incredible marshals and volunteers. And great. It was, the swim's nice. It's just, an out and around and back. The bike was, I quite like the bike. Crappy surfaces in some parts of it.
Yeah.
And then the run is a bit of a brain teaser because you've got a couple of dogleg out and back, and then you go around the lake, and just the lake seems to be the biggest thing ever.
It's massive when you try and run around it, isn't it? A 2k stretch of lake is enormous when you're going down, and I always find that the depth perception thing, you look at it and going, I'm surely nearly there, but I'm not moving. It's like running down a Transpennine trail, you can't tell where the hell you are. Oh, well done to you though, 9th place overall. That's brilliant. You got to be made up with that.
I was very, very happy with that, Rob. Very happy.
Good.
I had a PB swim and a PB run for me off the bike. So yeah, chuffed.
Excellent stuff. Well done you. All right. So shall we run from this straight into our interviews that you took at the Outlaw Half then? Should we do those now?
I think so. Here you go.
My name's Iain Hamilton. I'm the race director of the Outlaw series of events.
We are doing this the day before because I figured that I might not see you tomorrow. I might not be in a very fit state at the finish line. You might be pretty busy. Talk us through Outlaw and why is it such a popular race? Because you sell out within like seconds.
I genuinely don't know. We have a really simple theory, but we organise these type of events how we would actually like to compete, and it's not only for us. It's about the experience from an athlete, from friends of athletes, spectators, family, and the supporters, as well as really working closely with our volunteers, because it's the volunteers ultimately that make the event.
What was the record though of selling out this year?
That's quite funny. This year it took 4 days to sell out actually, which for us was slow. Last year we sold 1,500 places, and I say it was 4 minutes. However, the office, because I was fortunate enough to be on holiday when we opened, the office told me it was less than 60 seconds. So relatively quick though.
What do you offer that maybe Ironman events don't offer?
Ironman's great for us, and that's what people don't necessarily think that's true. But Ironman have been going a long time. Their strategy is quite different to ours. We're really small. We've got a nice little range of events which we want to grow, and so I have the flexibility of being able to make a decision and implement it immediately. And so, for example, we like to keep things in one place. So let's say you're racing tomorrow and you've got people that are supporting you. My theory is that you would be able to support you from one place, and that's whether it's parking up the car and walking to the swim start, swim exit, starting the bike, potentially seeing you on the bike, watching the run finish, and all that sort of thing. And that's not what's set by anybody else. That's just my theory of how I would want to go to an event like this. And we really appreciate that it's not just one person that you're communicating with when you do an event like this, because there's a lot of people in the background. We all need partners that support, that go out of their way, and so we like to make it as enjoyable for everybody that's involved.
No split transition tomorrow, thankfully. That is a joy.
Yeah, we're working really hard at the moment to try and expand the series, and we've looked at a lot of places, and we're probably a little bit picky, if I'm honest, because we've seen 2 or 3 places that are amazing, and they would tick a lot of boxes for a lot of people, but unfortunately they've all been split transitions, and it isn't currently us. And if we do get desperate, then we might have to go down that route. I don't really want to, and we'll continue to look for places that A, haven't been used before, and B, where we'll all have a good time together.
And was the decision to start Holcombe to expand and have something in a different location?
Yeah, completely. We always so in our world, Outlaw is a little person that exists, and it's crazy, and people sort of laugh, and now I've just said it out loud. I think I am laughing myself. But so we decided that Outlaw was going to go on holiday, and Holcombe is just beautiful. And when we went and we sort of imagined how it could work, it just ticked all the boxes. And with other brands, they have this, they have a really good sell-in. From a point of view, they go to the councils and say this is going to happen, that's going to happen, and we're really realistic about the benefits of having a race. So it's quite tough to get in there, but they, I guess within reason, they took a chance on us, and it worked really, really well. It was brilliant.
And how are entries looking for this year compared to last year? Okay,
so I think in total we sold about 1,300 last year. We're at 1,700 at the moment. I think we'll probably take it to 1,800, probably no more. We like to push things because we're competitive, but on the other side of things, I don't want to grow it that big that it's too big and we can't cope. I'm realistic about what we're able to do, and I'd like to grow it by, it's a big jump, 500 people, but I guess in some ways we are commercial, so we actually needed that jump. So to take it to 18 would be nice, and then ideally to sort of 2,500 in the next couple of years. Going forward, Outlaw's going on holiday again. She hopefully going south
for a full.
No, he can't do too many fulls.
Okay,
Gets
no,
tired.
yeah, fine.
He gets tired. So, and he's going to be going down south. We've found 2 or 3 venues, and we're just looking to confirm things shortly.
That might be one for people who live in the capital of England that might appreciate that one, yeah?
Might be more for people that live in the capital of England, yes, that's true.
So anyone who wants to enter Holcombe for this year, get on it quickly, and then just keep an eye on your website, I guess, for entering Outlaw Half Nottingham for next year.
Yes, exactly. At the moment, we've still got entries open for Holcombe. I will probably close that in the next week or so. I think we've got enough. As far as next year goes, we will be opening. We'll do pre-registration, probably from July, and then which will probably include pre-registration for our event that's going to be closer to the capital, let's say, and that will open for entries, I expect, in about October time.
Mark Threlfall, congratulations, winner of the Outlaw Half Nottingham.
Thank you very much.
How was your race then today?
It was really good. We had Phil Graves was in the mix today, along with Simon George. There are a few others, like good names out. I think it's probably the most competitive year they've had for Outlaw Half before. So, it was definitely, the race was on knowing Phil was there, and I got a bit of a gap on him out of the swim, so I definitely was riding scared a bit.
Because basically you're a shithole swimmer and he's an Uber biker.
Yeah, I mean, we used to be on World Class Programme together years ago, and so I know Phil's got good swim potential. We used to come out of swimmers together, so silly by on his part, he let out that he doesn't really have the swim speed anymore. So I was like, great, I'm just going to go flat out from the start. So that it worked. I got a gap, and but yeah, it was inevitable. He was going to catch me on the bike at some point. It was just when, and that happened around sort of 25k, so really soon actually. And I was riding with him, definitely harder than I was planning on, and so I don't know how much longer I would have stuck there. And then he got a puncture, which was really unfortunate. I think he definitely had put a good few minutes into me, but I think that made a really exciting race. And coming onto the run, I think I could have pulled a bit back. It just meant that I was sort of on my own and racing my own race, which isn't a bad thing. It's quite nice. Just to kind of stick to my numbers and keep it all even and nicely paced.
So did you sort of know when Phil had the puncture, unless I have a really bad mess up here, it's kind of mine?
No, I know that there's obviously 2 waves, so there's Craig Twigg in the second wave, even my coach Matt Bottrell. I had no idea really, and so I just had to keep pushing and do the best that I could do, and if that meant I won, brilliant. And so on the run a couple of times when you come around the lake, it's a bit of a long drag, and I did look down at my watch and I was like, oh god, I'm drifting off, and so I had to pick it back up. So I definitely I pushed myself the whole way.
It is like the longest thing around the lake, isn't it? It's just like, oh, this is never ending.
I kind of liked it. I thought it was going to be worse than it actually was, and especially the way the wind worked today. You sort of had a tailwind on the way back from the far turnaround, so it almost broke it down in your mind a little bit. It just made it feel a bit easier.
It wasn't easy though at all, because you actually went and got a course record today, didn't you?
Yeah. Me and Phil had a bit of chat before the race. We knew that we could probably do it, working out the times and stuff, but I didn't expect to maybe kind of get quite so much. But yeah, it's nice to set something pretty challenging. I hope it'll last a while now.
Did you just have one of those days when you feel it all clicked?
Yeah, kind of. I've actually had a bit of an issue with my nutrition for a while, where on the bike I kind of like bring up a bit of food, and it would sort of mean that I'm not really absorbing anything, so I know I'm in good shape, and then I just fade on the run because I'm not absorbing anything. And I've been working really hard with and chatting with, I've got a new nutrition sponsor, Secret Training, and they've helped me out loads, and kind of nailed it, I think. So I got onto the run, I was like, I've actually got some energy.
I feel okay.
Yeah, I'm like good to go, and I can hold this pace. I'm not dying after 5-10k. So yeah, it went really well.
Awesome. So have you got any other race plans for this year then? You mentioned that you were hoping to go 7.3 world.
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen. There's been a lot of change this year. So I've got a 9 to 5 now, and it's I'm entered for Holcomb, so I'd really like to do that, providing the dates work with kind of the new work and stuff. And yeah, to be honest, I just sort of want to enjoy it, and just there's like this Red Bull steeplechase event coming up. I kind of fancy doing that. Just little things like that. I had a great time doing a Tillo a couple of years ago.
So who did you do that with?
I did it with one of my best mates, and he was my housemate at the time. And yeah, to be honest, we didn't go there to be competitive. We are competitive people though, so inevitably we were going to try and push it. But we just went there to have fun, and we actually came 7th. And
at the World Champs.
Yeah, so yeah, we're pretty surprised. I think we shocked a few people there, but it was just the most amazing event I've ever done. Yeah, it really blew me away, so I definitely want to go back and do that.
So definitely the one in Sweden, or would you be tempted to kind of there's a nice one in Switzerland, Silly as well?
That we actually had a spot to do the Switzerland one, and my partner couldn't do it, so we were a bit gutted about that. But I actually quite fancy the Scilly Isles one as well, close to home, and it looks amazing. So yeah, it's a good way to see all those islands as well.
Nice. And what about your sort of a triathlon career in a way? Like, coming to the Outlaw is so different to starting like World Cups and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I've always wanted to do this event, and just where races are trying to qualify for Worlds, and had to go to other races to get points. So it's been really nice to come and do this. And I guess the big difference between this race and say like a pro race is that you kind of race your own race. In a pro race, you very much, although it's non-drafting, you kind of have to go with the pace of other riders to stay in the pace line, and want to come off the bike with the leaders and stuff. So you'll be surging, putting in big 5-minute efforts, and it's just like you're burning your matches constantly. And whereas today it was just stick at your numbers, nice even pace. So that was quite cool actually, just to see what I can actually do if I just pace it well.
Break a record.
Well, yeah. Yeah, that too.
I'm with Gill Fullen, and Gill, you've just won this damn thing. I'm so happy to be sitting here next to you.
Believe me, I'm really happy to be sitting next to you as well.
I think out of everybody probably on that start list, I am most delighted for you this time at the moment.
That's really sweet, thank you so much. I had so much support around the course. It was absolutely amazing. Everywhere I went, it was like, go on Gill, you can do it. And the commentators were just, well, no pressure. Oh, this is Gill Fullen, she's a great age grouper, she'll get up there. And it's like, oh, thanks guys, I've actually got to do something now.
How did you find it out there today?
It was good. I mean, the weather conditions couldn't have been better really. There was a bit of wind, but nothing dreadful. I had some ace people to sort of ride with on the bike.
You flew past me.
Oh, thanks.
I did cheer though.
I thought I had an absolutely pants swim, and I was ready to sort of slip my wrists as I came out the water, but actually the time wasn't too bad, so I must have sat on some good ladies' feet. Thank you ladies for dragging me round. I'm sorry if I grabbed your feet too often. And then the run, because we had so much rain yesterday, it was really quite puddly.
It was a bit like more like a cross country, wasn't it?
It was quite cross country, but then I thought, oh well, this is good, it's less concussion for me. So yeah, no, the run was good, and by the time I got the leader's bike in front of me, she was clearing the way, which is cheating really, I think, but it worked.
So when you started the run, were you in third, second at that point?
Yeah, well I thought I was in about 23rd, because I was counting ladies on the bike that I was passing, and I thought I must still have at least 10 to 15 ladies in front of me. And then the commentator, when I came in, said, oh, and here comes Gill Fullen, and she's in third place. And I thought, oh, he must mean third in age group. So I sort of tootled off on the run, thinking, oh, I've got a bit of work to do here. And Yeah, it turned out I was third and saw the next, at the turnaround, of course you can see the other ladies coming the other way. So I knew how much I had to do.
So at that point then, do you think, right, I need to pick it up a little bit of a gear, or are you just confident that, I'm aiming for 1:30, I know I can do it, I just need to keep going?
I was just settling into the run. I wasn't sure what run I had in me. It's the first try I've done for 18 months. So I was just sort of cruising around that first lap. But when I started, I knew I was 3 minutes behind Laura. And by the time we got to the turnaround, there was only about a minute and a half. So I knew I was catching her anyway. And I thought, if I keep this pace, I'm all right.
Jill, you said it's your first triathlon in 18 months, and this is why I am so happy to be sitting next to you now. What have the past 18 months been like? Because basically you were diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yeah, well, it wasn't all of the 18 months, the last 6 months of last year were pretty pants, to be honest. But I managed to sort of block it out really in my head and do what I could, and then just try to put it behind me really. You can't train. You can't train. You can exercise. I found that I liked going out on the bike. I liked doing the cyclocross races because they were a bit of fun, and I liked doing the cross country races because they're so sociable. It didn't really matter that you were at the back. It was just fun to go and do something with other people. But
kind of normality.
Yeah, it really was. I didn't go on the turbo at all. Couldn't face it. And your body, well, my body, could do things. So I could go out on the bike and I could go for a run, and I could possibly swim now and again. But there was no second gear. And there was certainly no third gear. You just got stuck in first, and that's it. So it kept you going, but it wasn't training as such.
And how important was it for you to be able to do that, do all that exercise though, and actually keep, I guess, a little bit of normality going?
Yeah, that was what kept me going, definitely. I mean, I went out for 4 hours in the Peak District after my first chemo session. I pretty well died afterwards, but actually my head was so much better for it. Yeah, and my oncologist was like, just you go and do what you need to do. Your head's going to tell you what you can do, and your body's going to stop you at some point. So I just did what I could when I could, and when I couldn't, I accepted it. And that's, your body also has to deal with it. So there's a certain amount of saying, actually, rest here is also necessary.
And how are you at the moment?
Well, actually, I've just won a triathlon. So I'm assuming I'm all right.
I love it, honestly, Jill. It's just, I don't know, I'm sitting here and I just think it's so inspiring. I really do. And you could say, no, it's just, that's how I've dealt with it, whatever. But I think it's inspiring.
What I wanted to do, because I kept it to myself while I was having the treatment because I didn't want sympathy, but afterwards I really wanted to put it out in the public domain, because when I looked for inspiration or for role model or for some kind of positive, there was nothing. I found very, very little. There were 1 or 2 American athletes who've come back after breast cancer and done some good swims and some mountain biking. Apart from that, there was nothing giving you any light at the end of the tunnel. And what I really wanted to do was just for anyone who's out there in that same position and say, actually, it's okay. Get through it and you can get back to normal.
And get back to winning.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully. Yeah.
And what else then are you hoping to do this season?
Well, I got the other Outlaw race in Holcombe. That'll be a nice little holiday in Norfolk. And then, because I missed Ironman Barcelona last year, I'm in for that in October, which is my sort of A race, really.
So, Rob, that was the amazing Gill Fullen, who you can hear, I was so happy for her to have actually, taken out the win there. So, yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, good, really good. And especially with the health issues that she's had recently, it's great to see her back and racing so well, isn't it? That's really cool. Okay, so let's jump into Coach's Couch, shall we? And do a little bit of that.
Yep. Yeah. So this week we have a question from Simon, who got in touch with us on Twitter. We are at OA Tri Podcast on Twitter.
We are.
I forgot the podcast bit.
It's hard doing this in the camper van without all the usual things we have around us, isn't it?
It's like working on the memory, come on.
We're somewhere on Twitter. Find us on Twitter.
At OA Tri Podcast on Twitter. So Simon at Sidders got in touch with us, and he says, is there any real difference between the Ironman 9-1 run walk strategy and simply walking through the aid stations? Which is a very good question, because you've talked a lot about the 9-1 run.
Yeah, sure. So basically the short answer is no. The short answer is you want to be taking a walk break regularly on your race day. And I think stick to 9-1 when you're doing your training, so you know you're getting this regular walk break and getting that recovery. But then on race day, it definitely makes sense to time your walk break as you're going through an aid station. So as to when you do it, it's all going to depend on how far apart the aid stations are. If you're at one of the bigger races in Europe, they tend, although not always, they tend to have their aid stations a bit closer together than the ones in the UK. And so let's say it works out perfectly and there's an aid station every 2 kilometres and you happen to be running 5-minute kilometres, then everything's gravy. You can start your walk break just before your aid station and it's perfect. If not, and they're a bit further apart like they might be at Ironman UK, I think the way to go is to err on the side of having more walk breaks rather than less, but make the walk break a little bit shorter. So you might end up having a 30 or 40 second walk break in between the aid stations. But then the key is on race day, time your walk break so that you start the walk a little bit before the aid station, so your breathing settles a little bit before you get there. And then when you're actually going through the aid station, you're not worrying about, if you are out of breath, and I think most people probably are, you can then focus on getting your nutrition and your drinks down you without pouring it all over your body and getting sticky hands and sticky feet. Which is, it doesn't sound like much now sitting in a camper van, but on race day, if you get Coke on your hands or energy, it's horrible, isn't it?
It is disgusting.
It's the worst feeling, and your mind will gravitate to the thing that irritates you the most. So if you've got wet shoes and socks and you haven't had them in training, it's going to annoy you with every step. If you've got sticky hands, it's going to annoy you with every step. So try as best you can to walk through and get that nutrition and that hydration in without spilling it on you. But then here's my last tip. Get yourself a cup of water as you're going out of the aid station to wash your hands off with as much as you possibly can, and then head on out. So yeah, it's not important that you stick exactly religiously to 9-1, but I think it is important mentally that you have a regular break in your running and you know when it's coming, because if you haven't decided when that break's going to be, when you get tired, your brain is going to go, let's have a walk now. And immediately you'll just start walking. Whereas if you know it's to a beep on the watch, or if you know it's to a specific time and place on the road and you can force to it there, it's going to stop you having that kind of breakdown and walking whenever you just get really knackered. And ultimately that's a mind game at that point.
Yeah. I can't even remember what I did in Bolton, Rob.
No.
I honestly can't remember. I don't know. I think because of the hills as well, that was difficult at Bolton. And I remember walking, I walked out the hill, out of town.
You mentioned hills, that's a really good point. The really steep hill on the Bolton course is a great place for a walk break, because you're not going to lose very much time to a competitor or to the you that runs up the hill by power walking up it. And it's so steep, you are going to find your heart rate jumps even when you're power walking. So have that in mind as you're putting together your strategy. Right, I'm going to walk this hill, and you know what, if it means you get an extra walk break, that's okay. Take the extra walk break and then integrate it into the rest of your marathon later on. Okay, so if you're getting a walk break at least every 9 minutes, I think you're good to go.
Amazing.
There we go. So I hope that helps, Simon. I don't know which race you're racing this year, but best of luck, mate. Let us know how you get on.
Awesome. Right, Rob, should we move on to this week's interview of the week?
Interview of the week, yeah. Tell me who we've got lined up this week.
So I should have mentioned this earlier, but never mind. This week's interview of the week is with Tim O'Donnell.
No way. The Tim O'Donnell.
The Tim O'Donnell, who, former world champion in long distance and 70.3, just an incredible athlete, and we'll hear more about how he got into triathlon. And he's going to be a dad very soon, and he also happens to be the husband of Mirinda Carfrae.
Awesome. Here we go with today's interview.
Timothy O'Donnell, hello and welcome to the Oxygen Addict Triathlon podcast. Thank you very much for coming on.
Oh, my pleasure. Glad we get a chance to chat today.
Awesome. So, Timothy, first of all, congratulations on pending parenthood.
We're over the moon. It's been a very exciting year, and actually don't know where the last 28 weeks have gone. It just seems like we'll have a whole nother person in the house before we know it.
When it came to planning for you guys, like, obviously if you're an elite sportswoman, we did a lot about this recently, between Olympic cycles or big events, whatever, there's a lot to take into account and think, right, when is the right time to do this? But when the two of you are elite athletes, does planning come into it even more?
Definitely, especially on Mirinda's side. We knew we wanted to start a family, and it's always been, part of our plan together, sharing our lives together. And it was really up to Rinny when she felt comfortable, taking a year off to really get the family started. So when, I think 2015, she had a rough go in Kona, getting hit by the car right before the race. And if things had gone better that year, she may very well have kind of given the green light. But, that happening, it wasn't until after Kona 16 that she really knew for herself that she wanted to get the family started. And we were already on the same page about that. So it was a quick decision for us.
How has that changed your attitude so far to training and racing, even without the fact that you have a little person at the moment to care for?
I don't think it's hit me quite as much yet. I'm just starting to feel the baby kick now and stuff, which makes it more real for me. Probably it's been a little more real for Rinny over the last couple months, but I think it definitely brings an excitement to racing. And Rinny and I have been doing this for a long time, and at some point you kind of feel like, okay, maybe there's more than just going out into life than going out and training and racing all the time. So I think it's brought us some really great perspective on the fact that, hey, at the end of the day, it's just sport, and we're just riding our bikes and running around. So now there's something more in our lives that makes everything very exciting.
Have there been any days over the past couple of months whereby, you've been able to go out on your bike or go out running and stuff and maybe do a typical long run, and Rinny's like, man, I feel so crap this morning, but I want to be doing what you're doing?
I've actually been really impressed by her approach to all this. She hasn't been stressed at all about missing anything. There's no FOMO, I guess, for her right now. She's just really enjoying something different in her life. When we spend the winter in Australia training in Noosa, which is about 90 minutes north of where her family lives. So that was a great example where I was out there doing those 6-hour rides, and she actually had an opportunity to spend some time with her nieces and nephews, take them to the Australian Zoo, and just have that different little aspect of life that, she's been racing professionally for 15 years. So it's been actually a really nice little break for her. So
are the little O'Donnells, what are they going to be like, Timothy?
Well, we always joke, hopefully they don't get my coordination. I think Rinny is a little more coordinated than I am. So who knows? I mean, we're just excited. Hopefully everything's healthy, and I guess we're going to be surprised. We don't even know the sex yet. We're gonna leave that till the day he or she is born to figure out. So we're just really taking a wait and find out type of approach.
Amazing. And then there's like big jokes going around, aren't there, that Kona 2045 or whatever is going to be this incredible race because you're going to have an O'Donnell, maybe like a Lewington, a Kanama, a Frodeno.
Right. It's amazing. It's going to I'm glad I'll be well retired by the time that class comes up to the start line. But yeah, I think it's we've all, like our generation, I guess, in the sport, we've all kind of been in this for about the same amount of time, and we've all grown together, and I think it's just kind of makes sense that at this point in everybody's career, which have all been on the same path, that all the women are kind of thinking, all right, well, here's a great opportunity to start families, and I think other athletes in the past have shown that having a baby by no means ends your professional racing career, and I think that's probably added to everybody's willingness to start families and with the plans to still racing.
Awesome. So, Timothy, take us back, 31 years? Because you've pretty much been doing sport for that long, which is quite a long time.
Yeah, it's crazy. I joined my first swim team in 1986 when I was 5 years old. I'm the youngest of four, so my parents started me. Everybody else was swimming, so I just ended up going with them and joining the team. So it's pretty wild to think I've actually been staring at that black line for well over 30 years.
Did you grow up wanting to be an athlete, or I know you're obviously in the Navy, but did you have aspirations as a youngster, like as a 10, 11-year-old?
I think every kid growing up, well, I was a swimmer, so, every kid growing up wants to be a professional athlete if they're in sports. And, if you're playing basketball or you want to go to the NBA, or football, you want to go to the NFL. But, being a swimmer at the Olympics was that really the only goal you could have in terms of really, I guess, a professional career for swimming. So I'd always wanted to go to the Olympics. That was a pipe dream for sure. But truth be told, I wasn't that talented of a swimmer that would be a reality. So in college, I just found triathlon through my older brother. We both went to the same school, and it was something different for me. I'd been swimming a long time, and I was a distance swimmer, so I was putting in a lot of yards, a lot of meters. So it was just a refreshing change for me, and something I just kind of was drawn to from that self-challenge perspective.
And when you went into the Navy, were you able to just carry on doing all your triathlon straight away, or did it take a year or two to sort of settle in and then do more and more triathlon?
Well, it wasn't. I went to the Naval Academy, so it wasn't until I went to the academy that I actually discovered triathlon. So I was on the varsity swim team for my first 2 years there, and then I transitioned to the club triathlon team. So it really was, I think if I hadn't gone into the Navy, I don't know if I would have ever really discovered the sport. So they kind of grew together.
And did it give you a mental toughness in being in the Navy?
I think I went into the Navy because those characteristics that would make you, be successful in the military are sort of already ingrained in me. I had a great family life growing up, and my parents, they didn't throw any punches. They raised us to not be soft. So, and I was the youngest of four, so I was always the punching bag for my older brothers.
Sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I wouldn't trade that at all. I mean, I was not a great swimmer, particularly when I was younger. In fact, I remember going to one of the championship meets, and my coach fudged my times to get me into the meet because he assumed I would have made the cuts. And really? I ended up not. Yeah, I didn't make the cut, so I got disqualified. But I always loved training, and I was very good at those long sets. When you're doing a 10,000 meter workout, I got better. I was, either swimming faster or with guys that were way better than me. So, it was really that work ethic from just, loving swimming and having a strong family that kind of parlayed nicely into the military.
So then you're in the military for a couple of years, and then basically explain then, did they sort of spot you and go, oh my goodness, you've won this national title, number of times, we want to see if you're good enough to go to the Olympics for triathlon? Is that how it worked?
Yeah, I probably have the most unique Navy career of anybody. My older brother, Thomas, who is still in the Navy, is actually a commander of a submarine out of Guam. He always laughs at it, that somehow I put together this unbelievable Navy career. But I joined the Special Operations community, which is explosive ordnance disposal, and I went to dive school and went to my command, and they basically put me in what's called the World Class Athlete Program. So at the time, I had won the Armed Forces National Triathlon Championships several times and represented the Armed Forces at the World Military Games. And I put together a proposal, and just so happened that my boss appreciated it, and it happened to be that I was in a warfare community that really valued physical fitness and the mental characteristics that really make triathlon so demanding, and it just really worked really well with our community. So they gave me the opportunity to represent the Navy and the Armed Forces through sport. and I headed to the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs and trained as a part of the U.S. national team.
So was 2012 the aim Olympics-wise, or was it before that? Were you hoping to go to Beijing?
Yeah, Beijing was my first really, I guess, Olympic aspiration, and I went to the U.S. Olympic trials. I think I finished 5th or 6th, and I had been working on my run with my then coach Cliff English, but everything really hadn't started to click yet. So when obviously if you're racing ITU, you need to be able to run fast. So unfortunately I didn't make the team then, but in 2009 when I got out of the military, my run really started to click. All that progress I had seen in my training had started to come to fruition in the racing. So in 2009 and 10, I was kind of on the fence. I needed to start a career in the sport, which is what I really wanted to do. And I saw in the U.S. that to do that, you really need to be doing non-drafting racing. So I started doing 70.3s along with that ITU racing. And, I had some success. I was on the podium at U.S. Nationals and the ITU racing in 9 and 10, and as well as Pan American Championships in 2009, I believe. But at that time, I started dating Rennie, and I went to Kona to watch her, and I realized that if I wanted to do one thing in this sport, it wasn't be a participant in the Olympics, because I knew that I did not have the pedigree to win a gold medal. But I had a feeling that I could really be a contender in Hawaii. So at the end of 2010, I decided to put all my eggs in one basket and just fully commit to long course racing.
So basically, it's all Rennie's fault.
It is. Rennie ruined my Olympic dreams.
When did you actually meet?
We actually met. We had met several times without really getting to know each other. It went as far back as I think 2007. We had met when I was training in Australia, and then 2008 we met at the Med Tent in Buffalo Springs.
What a place for a day.
Yeah, we were both out of it. We were both at the point where we needed IVs, and she was completely delirious, and I was starting to feel better because I'd been in the med tent for a while, and struck up a conversation that she doesn't even remember. So, but it was in 2009. I moved to Boulder at the beginning of 2009, and Rennie had been coming here to train. Pretty much she would come to the U.S., do St. Anthony's or St. Croix, and then early May come to Boulder and train here through at that time 70.3 Worlds, and then eventually through Kona. But we have a mutual friend who I was talking to at St. Anthony's, and something happened. Rennie didn't race that year. She was just racing St. Croix, and a friend of mine was like, a mutual friend of ours said, I have somebody you have to meet. She's moving to Boulder, and I think you guys will just be really great. So, we had that conversation. I didn't know she was talking about Rennie, but then I went to St. Croix, and we met in St. Croix, and that was the first professional race I'd won. And we had actually had dinner at one of the homestays had a pasta party, the night before, and we had sat at the same table, and then at the post-race party, we struck up a conversation, and just so happens she was heading back to Boulder, and we started dating that summer.
Oh, I love it. And what's it like then, going from, both having, I guess, fairly separate lives, and then almost growing together, being successful together, and living together, balancing it together, helping each other through the ups and downs, which inevitably there are?
I think we're lucky in the fact that, I don't know if it's luck, but both of us, our egos aren't so big that we couldn't, work together and be happy for each other's successes. And particularly once we got engaged, we really said, hey, it's not just about, your career, my career, it's about us and our lives together. And I think you see that when one of us has a bad Kona and the other one has a good Kona, which has happened several times. The other person just, despite focusing a whole year on one race and not going well, can still be there and be supportive and be truly and genuinely happy for the other. So I just think that's really been a big part of our relationship.
Does it make it that bit easier when you have a really crap race and Rinny has a great race?
It's always bittersweet, you know, because obviously you want to have a great race, but you know, seeing the joy in her face after she, you know, accomplishes a goal that she's put so much effort into, you can't, you know, not be happy for that, and you have to just love celebrating that with her.
And I guess likewise when she didn't have a great race, but you got third at Kona, and she would have been there at the finish line, which wouldn't have happened previously.
Yeah, that's very true. In fact, when I crossed, just in my mind, she shouldn't have been there. So I was, you know, like congratulating Jan and like talking to Mark, Alan, and then she's just standing there. I'm like, oh yeah, you know, Rinny's here. But in my mind, she was still out on the course, you know.
What's Mark Allen brought to your career and your training?
For me, Mark's brought just some balance and perspective. At the time that we started working together at the start of 2014, I had run myself a little thin. I had, you know, classic kind of doing too much, overtraining, and the mindset of more is better. And that's kind of why I went to Mark, because I knew I needed to step away from that, and I knew he was the right guy to really help me do that. And you know, changing training to really more of a heart rate based and letting my body heal and soak up all the great efforts and training and in racing that I've had over, you know, all those prior years was really, to me, an important part of my career, learning wise, but also in just most likely saving it and extending it to last a lot longer.
Rob, who I co-host this podcast with, recently was in the States on almost like a spiritual kind of camp that Mark Allen does. And he says that he really adds like almost a spiritual element to people's training, and it's a really different approach to a lot of other coaches out there.
Definitely, and Mark's a very spiritual person, but he doesn't throw that on you. You start working with him, you know, it's about triathlon, but as your relationship grows and you just start, you know, natural conversations with each other, or you ask questions about it, then, you know, Mark is willing to share and open up, which I really appreciated. It wasn't like, oh, you need to do this, but, you know, as we grew together as a coach, athlete, and friends, you know, he was able to kind of bring some of that into my training plan. And I was able to go to Mount Shasta with him last year for one of his retreats, and it was fantastic. Other than the fact that like a week before I crashed my mountain bike and cracked a rib, and I was camping and sleeping on the ground.
That's not so good.
Just suffering so much. But it was a really great experience, and I definitely think it helps with your mindset in racing and also, you know, post racing too. And I think that's one of the things that really helped Mark. You know, it's always hard as professional triathletes transition to what's next in life. You know, you've been riding your bike for how many years, and, you know, not developing a resume, so to speak, for the business world or the real world. And now you're left to this fact, like, okay, I need to figure out what else to do. And for Mark, I know having that spirituality gave him something more to life, more to his identity than just racing. And I think it made his transition a lot easier. So I think it's powerful in more ways than one.
And you mentioned there about the mindset. What have you learned then in terms of, I guess, the mental strength side of things?
I think for me, it's being able to just settle into that space, that zone. And I, you know, particularly for me, I've had success with that on the bike, and, you know, I'll go out for 6.5, 7 hour rides by myself and be able to just be in that ride. Running, that's where Mark really saw it shine, and I'm, you know, still working on that. But I think there's a lot to take in on race day and in training, and you have to be in a spot mentally that you can handle that.
Take us to Kona. What's it like as an American racing there? Is it even more special than what we follow on TV, because you sort of want to do your nation proud?
I think when I can win that race, I'll be able to answer that question a little bit better, because I think winning that race for an American is really where I think those emotions are going to just kind of overflow, bubble to the top, I guess. But I mean, absolutely, it's a good amount of the people there are obviously American. Although it is with international racing growing, it's the percentage of racers is probably balancing out a little bit more. But with all the history there and all the energy, it'd be pretty awesome to be able to be that next American to win that race.
Do you ever feel pressure when you are there about, being the first American over the line?
I did in 2011, my first year there. I was much less of an experienced athlete, and I'd done well my first Ironman in Texas, and that first Kona was my second Ironman, and I went in there thinking I was ready to take over the world and be that guy, and it didn't go that way. I think Mike Tyson said everybody has a plan until you get hit in the face, and at some point in Kona, you're going to get hit in the face by the wind or nutrition or something, or the heat, and that happened to me on the bike, and I ended up I actually got sick before the race. I think maybe all that pressure and all that stress, mainly self-inflicted, and I think that's usually the killer for professionals, is that no one's harder on ourselves than us, and it's usually self-inflicted pressure that really ruins your day. But it was a great learning experience for me, and I just came to realize that wanting to win that race isn't going to make you win that race, or thinking that you're going to win that race isn't going to make you win that race. It's focusing on the details, creating a plan and saying, okay, this is how I can win that race, and then focusing on the details that will make you execute that plan. And once I realized that, and once I kind of realized that, hey, it's not about me beating everybody else, it's about me putting together my perfect race. If I put together my perfect race, then I can win this race. So I've really kind of changed my focus.
When you're out there and Rinny's out there too, you're both competing, are you able to just focus on yourself, or does your mind ever wander and you're thinking, I wonder how she's getting on?
I found that my best races there, I've been in the zone, and I haven't, I've gone by Rinny either on the bike or on the run and not even seen her. The races where I'm not having my best day, maybe because I'm not in that space mentally, are the days where I would see more of her race. So from a selfish perspective of personal performance, I'm kind of hoping that the interactions are minimal.
Yeah. And what are the interactions like on race morning? Are you quite different in your preparations? You hear about the brownies. One of them will be in the car, engine running, ready to go, and the other one's sort of still in bed, very laid back, chilled out. Yeah. What are you both like?
There's little to no conversation race morning. I mean, we are in our own headspaces, that's for sure. We'll wake up, and almost completely we'll be in the same room but be in different places, and we'll give each other a kiss and a hug before the gun goes off, and that'll pretty much be it. But I think in our relationship we're comfortable, being able to be there for each other on a different level, not just verbal support or things like that. So I think we've learned how to be there for each other and prepare ourselves simultaneously pretty well.
Is one of you always running around going, where the hell are my sodding goggles? And the other one's the bag's packed.
Probably more in the day-to-day stuff. That's probably more the case. Usually I'm running late and Rinny's scratching her head. But unless we're going out at night, because she always seems to, I can get ready to go places pretty quickly,
That's the military, isn't it? That is the military.
You had 5 minutes to do everything, So she'll wait till I go to get ready to get ready, and then, she'll be 20 minutes behind me.
do you both just sit and chill out and have a few glasses of vino now and again?
Yeah, that's probably our favorite hobby, actually.
Good, we like this.
That and Netflix and chill. Yeah, it's actually been, I've probably drank less in the last couple months just because I don't have a partner in crime right now. So I hate to open a bottle of wine by myself. So without really drinking right now, it's been it's hurt my wine tasting game.
Oh, you got to up your game. You're gonna have to find a new drinking buddy.
I know. I'll accept applications. Just tweet me.
I mean, is it difficult sometimes to switch off, or are you both pretty good at it?
Yeah, I think we're both. I mean, we're both disciplined in that sense. We know what we want to achieve, and we're willing to do what we believe it takes to do that. So before Kona, we'll definitely have the hard switch, and before big Ironmans, we'll switch it off as well. So we do believe in balance in our lives. So I don't think we would have the long careers that we've both had if we didn't have some perspective and some balance, and didn't have the ability to have a glass of wine with friends now and then. We want to enjoy life, and we want to enjoy this experience too.
I love it. So for you, Kona is the goal this year, and being a daddy, yep. Amazing. That is going to be the number one goal. Then Kona, I guess.
Yeah, I was talking to Mark about it, and he I think this is in one of the books they wrote about the Iron War, but he said the only thing he said to Dave on that run in '89 was when Dave's then wife Anna was holding up their newborn son, like on the run course in front of him while they were running by, and Mark just said to him, he said, "Now that's not fair." So hopefully I'll have some extra motivation when Rinny's with the little guy or girl on the run course out there. Amazing.
And then, all being well, I guess plan is for you both to be racing there in 2018?
Yeah, absolutely. Rinny is fully committed to getting back to Kona next year. And, she's got that good fortune with the 5-year rule that she just needs to validate in terms of finishing an Ironman. So she will need to get into the points chasing hole that some athletes can fall into, trying to chase that dream.
Yeah, that's quite. Yeah, I mean, you have to work to be able to get that in the first place, but that's pretty good that she does have that. Timothy, a couple of quick questions to finish off with. What do you make of the Collins Cup?
I am really excited for the Collins Cup. I've been a part of the whole process with Charles Adama, who's really been the brain trust behind this event. But it's nice to have something that the athletes can really take some ownership in, and hopefully help spread the sport to a wider audience. And at the end of the day, us as professional athletes, we want to celebrate the sport. I mean, it's given us careers, and if we can do that by showcasing the event to more people and help growing the sport, then it's a great way for us to give back.
And do you think it will be a success as well? I mean, we saw the Super League was a really good hit because they had amazing coverage and it was exciting to watch. Do you think that the Collins Cup will be able to do that as well?
I really believe so. I think our sport is wanting for more of that media-friendly competition. And while, an 8-hour race with the Collins Cup you may think is not media-friendly, and, the way everything works with pitting, having that nationalism with Americas versus Europe versus the world, I think it adds, and head-to-head competition, it adds so many more new layers to the event that I think it's going to really be captivating to the audience. And I know when the Ryder Cup started years ago, it wasn't until the American team first lost that it really became popular in the U.S. golf, the sport of golf, and particularly here in America, there is that sense of nationalism, and I think people want us to win no matter what it is. So I think trying to cheer us on just because we are facing everybody else in the world, I think it's going to be exciting.
Have you had a little word with Dave Scott?
I haven't seen Dave around yet. We haven't been back in Boulder much this year, but I love talking to him. I know he's going to have some some great advice, and I look forward to having him piped in my ear when I'm out on the race course, yelling at me or making jokes or something.
Maybe he could be your Vino buddy. Get on the team.
He does. I know he loves Zinfandel, so I got to get him and his girlfriend Christine over here at some point. Maybe after Ironman Boulder, I can convince him to come over. I'm sure it won't be hard to twist his arm to open a few bottles.
There you go. And what about Mr. Brownlee making an amazing debut? Did you watch it? Were you thinking, ooh, that was swift?
I did watch it. I was thoroughly impressed, but not surprised. I know he's an unbelievable talent, obviously, and I know he's not afraid to do the work either. So it wasn't a surprise for me. I followed that. He did a challenge race, I think, a couple weeks before, and I was kind of paying attention to that and saw how he absolutely dominated that race. So I think it's exciting. Yeah, I mean, I think it's only going to help, bring more attention to long course racing.
That is it. Suddenly there's a lot more media interest in longer course stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you think that he will make everyone else up their game? Do you think anyone's going to have a chance against Brownlee this year?
Well, I mean, I know Lionel is going to be hot to trot to win that race. And it's a favorable swim for him. And, you look at the bike run and Lionel is still the fastest bike runner on the day in St. George. So it'll be interesting. I don't know if Frodo's racing, but 70.3 Worlds this year. But we've seen it over the last couple of years. Competition, brings out the best in everybody and elevates the game. I mean, I look at even when I started racing 70.3s in 2009, Ironman Texas, 70.3 Texas was a great example. I was second there in March, and it was the fastest I had gone in that race. And 2012 when I won, I think Sebastian, who is an Uber biker, obviously rode like a 2:06 and outrode everybody by minutes. And now all of a sudden 2 hours on that course is like the norm. So the game has changed for sure. And I think Alistair's participation is only going to help raise the level even more.
It's insane, isn't it? But it's really exciting. Timothy, thank you so much for your time, and best wishes for Ironman Boulder, and then obviously the biggest event of the year in the summer for you guys.
Yeah, we're excited. It's going to be a very fun August when the little one comes along, and I'm sure I'll be wishing I had more sleep when that happens.
Well, all the best, and thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Helen.
What a nice guy, Rob. And as you heard there, if you are interested in becoming Tim O'Donnell's wine buddy for the time being, because Rinny's off the alcohol, he seems keen. Get in touch with him on Twitter.
Brilliant stuff. What a good guy.
No, it was really, really interesting to talk to him. And we obviously spoke there about Mark Allen as well, and all being well, we're going to have Mark Allen on soon, aren't we?
Yeah, hopefully. I've got an interview lined up for later on this week, so as long as the schedules connect, it's a big ask. I feel like I'm cursing it by even mentioning it here. I feel superstitious.
There's no wood in the van. Is this fake wood?
Yeah, touch wood.
That'll do.
So fingers crossed we should have Mark Allen on the show in a few weeks' time if everything works out with the interview and scheduling. So yeah, good stuff.
Amazing. And then Rob, how long now to go till your mega run?
I have got about, I think it's 4 weeks to go. So I'm a little bit hesitant and nervous about it, but it's going to be okay.
It'll be fine.
Do lots of running. The Achilles is holding up. Having had such a good run this weekend with the guys that we ran with, they were such a nice bunch of people, all completely mad, as you can imagine from ultra runners. I was easily the worst runner in the group, so I was getting dropped all the time. Felt like death for most of the day. Me and Rush had gone up and done a 2-hour run the night before because he said we're gonna pre-fatigue your legs. And I said, okay, you're the boss, you know what we're doing. I felt rubbish from the moment we set off, and we both stopped for a wee in the first mile, so we were miles behind everybody as well. And I was like, okay, it's going to be that kind of day. Tired legs from the off. But we all kind of kept regrouping and kept going for, little jogs out and back and stuff. And it was a good day out. So another 6 hours in the legs on Saturday and a big hike on Sunday. So a couple more of those and we should be ready.
You'll be great. It's funny, because I obviously don't usually get to see.
It's only 53 miles, right?
Exactly, it's all doable. But I don't usually get to see your face when we're recording. That sounds weird alone, doesn't it?
No.
But anyway, we are sitting opposite each other now. I can see your face, so I can see this like mixture.
I'm terrified.
There is like this mixture of a little bit of excitement and clearly a bit of fear as well.
It's mostly fear. Yeah, it's mostly fear.
That is genuine fear now.
It's a long way. 53 miles in my head. It's going to break it down into little chunks. I think the thing that is most difficult mentally is it's like a lollipop shaped course. So you run out so you run out to the Three Peaks circuit. It must be, how far must it be? 12 miles to the circuit. Then you do the 25-mile circuit, and then you run back 12 miles. And then there's a little dogleg bit to make it up to a double marathon at the end that goes down through Goredale Scar. And
that bit's just cruel.
Yes, just a little bit. So it's that knowing that, I think if it was loops, you can kind of go, well, I could bail at any point. On this, there is no bailing. You've got to get to the halfway point to even be halfway. So mentally, I'm finding that a real challenge.
But if you did have loops, I don't know, surely that would do your head in as well.
Yeah, it's weird how you learn about your own psychology, isn't it? I find the loops much easier to break down. Okay. So I need to do some really, like yesterday's training run, because it was just out for 3 hours and back for 3 hours. There was no, and I had a really dark first 3 hours because the whole way I felt rubbish. I was cold. I kept going, maybe I'm getting sick. Maybe I'm not well. So it was a real lesson in turning the mind off, and I didn't do a very good job of that actually. So
this is very interesting. And Rob, we're going to have a sports psychologist on the show again in a couple of weeks. So
I need to listen to what she's got to say. Obviously,
you do listen. Yeah. You do need to listen because it's just interesting about training your mind a little bit.
Well, I think I underestimated yesterday in terms of the couple of weeks ago when I did it with Rushy. I was psyched up for it. Yeah. Yesterday I was like, oh, okay, we'll just go and do this, and it wasn't the right approach at all. I was gripped right from the off, and I need to get myself psyched up for it.
Totally.
Yeah. So another big weekend in the mountains in 2 weeks' time, and I think we should be ready.
I love it. I don't know what am I going to do now, Rob. I'm at a loss. Oh, I know what I'm going to do.
What are you going to do next? What's your next little challenge, Helen? Tell everyone what you're doing next.
I'm going to cycle the length of Italy.
That's Helen's idea of a relaxing holiday, everybody. So just, 1,000 miles in 10 days?
No, more, but in 11 days.
Okay. So 100 miles a day for 11 days.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So just be thankful you're not married to Helen.
Yeah, totally. Anyway, on that note, Rob, I think I am literally dying now of it's getting pretty hot in here, isn't it?
110 degrees inside the van. So we're signing off. If you don't hear this podcast ever, this is our last words. We've died of heat exhaustion in the van, so we're going to sign off. Thanks very much for listening, everybody. We've been brought to you by tgstore.co.uk and team.oxygenaddict.com. Until next week, have a great, safe training and racing week. I'm Coach Rob Wilby.
I'm Helen Murray.
We're both dying of heat exhaustion, and we'll see you again next week. Cheers.